Hey guys, welcome to my channel. In this video I am going to be showing you how to clean a Tecumseh carburetor from a snowblower. This could be a 8 horsepower, 9 horsepower, 10 horsepower engine, the HMSK 80s, 90s, and 100s. The procedure is going to be the same for any of them. This is from an 8 horsepower Tecumseh snowblower, and I'm going to be showing you the proper way to go about cleaning it and rebuilding it. So let's get started. First thing you want to do is take your 1/2-inch wrench and remove the bowl. I've already loosened this one, and you want to take the jet out. So there's the jet, and if you have not already pre-loosened this, it's probably going to have gasoline and other stuff in it. You're going to want to remove the carb bowl like that. Set that aside, and then you can go ahead and remove the float, so this piece right here. And to do that, you're going to remove this pin right here. And sometimes if the carb is really dirty, they're going to be stuck, so you can take a this is a 1/16 inch punch, and you can tap it out. You can put it in a vise or just hold it and tap it out, and you can get the pin out like that. And at that point, the carb float should come out like that with the pin, needle, and clip like that. And you'll just want to inspect all of this stuff for any wear. You'll want to inspect the needle for any wear at the tip. This one is pretty good. And at that point, basically, the main disassembly has happened. Oh, you probably are going to want to remove the emulsion tube. And to do that, I like to take a screwdriver, and you can see it in there. It's that kind of pink thing, and you're going to want to press down on it and pop it down so it pops out like that. And you're going to want to grab it with a small pliers or something and remove it. And you're going to have 2 little O-rings on it. Most of the time the top one is going to be stuck inside the carb body, and when that happens, generally you can basically need to be able to get it out of there. So there are a couple of things I do. I try to hook it with, this is like a Tecumseh carburetor tool, 670377. It's got like a little crochet hook on the tip of it, and you can put it in there and try and hook it. I don't really have much success doing that, so I generally take a pick, a sharp pick like this, sometimes an even sharper one, and try and stab it and dislodge it down there and get it turned so that I can get a small pliers or something part way down to grab it, or just bang it out. So that's what I do. This one was not, this carb is actually not bad at all. I'm just using it as an example, but we're going to go through and do a whole rebuild on it so that you get to see. Next thing you want to do after you get the emulsion tube out is you're going to want to pull the idle air restrictor screw out. And normally they will have a cap like this on them, a little plastic cap. You want to pry that off, and then take a small screwdriver and crack that loose like that, and then pull that out. And that completes the disassembly of the carburetor. And usually there isn't much reason to take the butterflies out and the arms out, but if you wanted to or needed to for some reason, like the spring is broken up here, you can, that's a star-shaped screw, Torex screw. I believe it's a T10, and you can unscrew that, remove the butterfly, and then the whole pin and governor linkage or choke linkage will slide right on out of there. So you can do that. This one, I'm not going to do that. This is not needed. Everything is perfectly fine with this carburetor. Nothing to, no reason to take those out. So, all right, let's get to cleaning it. Okay, the first thing that we're going to work on is the jet. So, Tecumseh jets, basically the bowl nut is the jet. This one happens to be a number 184 jet. And you can see that down there in the center is a hole, and that meters the fuel that gets drawn up into the emulsion tube and into the carb body. That makes it into the intake. So that's the main jet right there. And you'll also notice right there is a small hole, and I believe that is for the idle circuit in the carburetor. So a small amount of fuel gets drawn through that and ends up in the idle circuit. So what we want to do is we want to clean those out and make sure that those jets and passageways are perfectly clear, because it's not going to run unless they are whistle clean. So these are welding tip cleaners. So it's a whole set of welding tip cleaners. Sometimes they'll market it on eBay as like a carb cleaner, but you want to take something like that. You can use a wire as well, but you want to poke all of these jets out. So that's the smallest one, and I'm able to get through there. And you want to just poke it out and make sure there's no crust. This jet is clean. But if you're doing this, your jet is probably all gummed up, and one or both of these holes has a problem. And let's see, just for the fun of it, we'll poke out the main jet down there. That's too big. Let's try one of these. Try that one. Yep, that seems to work. So you want to poke that out and make sure there's no scale or crust that's left in there. You know, you want to get it perfectly clean, nothing left. Same with these holes on the side that draw the fuel up from the bowl. Make sure that that's all clear. And once you have done that, once you're satisfied that there is nothing left in there, you want to blow this all out with carb cleaner. And you want to actually blow, you can blow down into the jet, and you should see the carb cleaner come out both sides, like that. See if this will focus, like that. See, you want to see that. That's what you want to see. You can also do the same thing. You can kind of plug one side and blow through the other side. Focus. There we go. And you should be able to, there we go, like that, come out the jet. So that's how you go about cleaning the jet. And we're going to do the very same thing for the idle air restrictor. This is part of the idle circuit. So we're going to basically come in here with a welding tip cleaner and poke out all of this stuff. This one is pretty small. I don't know if this might work. This one might work. Yeah, this one works. So you see, I came in through there, poke that out. Same with the side ones. Like that. Poke that out like that. Make sure it's all clear. Nothing, no scale or crust left in the sides. It's not bad. There might be a little bit more. I'll work on this and then bring you back. Alright, that's pretty good. So that is done. The jet is done. And basically for most of the other stuff, the emulsion tube, you want to remove any of that old O-ring, spray that off, spray out all the little passageways in here, spray down the top, out the, make sure it comes out the sides. Basically, call that done. And all this other stuff, basically, you're just going to want to clean it off, clean off any scale, any deposits, any buildup. You want to inspect your float pin, make sure that it's not scored anywhere, that it's not flat on one spot or anything like that, where it's going to bind up, and your float is going to bind up and either flood the engine or starve it for fuel. Wipe off, spray off your float. Making sure you want to get as much deposits off of there as you can. Not bad. Same with the needle. Needle is usually not too bad. Want to wipe it off, inspect it, make sure there are no deposits or anything on the edges that are going to bind up or prevent it from moving up and down in the fuel inlet cleanly. You want to spray out your bowl, wipe that out. Generally, snowblower carburetors don't get very dirty, dusty, gooey on the outside because they're used in snow, which is kind of a clean environment. It gets filtered naturally. It's not like a lawnmower carburetor where it's going to be covered in dirt and grass and crust, so generally it's not anything that you find on these snowblower carburetors is going to be deposits, fuel deposits or things like that, of that nature. So here we are, the carb body. This is what's left. You want to start spraying out there, make sure that all of this stuff on the inside here is clean. Let's see here. So essentially the idle circuit here, you want to spray it out in there. There's a passageway connecting it down in here to where the emulsion tube is. You want to make sure that that is clean. And you will notice here that on the side of this carburetor there are 3 little holes kind of right there. And the idle restrictor screw area is connected. Focus, please. Yeah. I don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of dribbling out of there. So you want to make sure that that area is clean in there. And if you are really having trouble, this Welch plug right here gives you access to those 3 little holes and to the idle air restrictor screw socket. So you can pull this Welch plug out, you can drill through it and pry it out and really get in there and clean it. That's usually not all that necessary to do that, but you can if you would like. So that pretty much covers that. You want to make sure that all of these orifices in here get sprayed out, So make sure that that's all getting sprayed out. There's a little, it looks like there's a little vent hole right there that's connected to the primer bulb. So when you spray through there, it looks like it's coming out there. Make sure that is all clear and not plugged up. And once you are satisfied with that, you can go for reassembly. By the way, when you're cleaning the carb body or the idle circuit, those holes, I have a extra pipette for the end of the carb cleaner that I bent kind of at a right angle so that I can force the carburetor cleaner through those little holes and really get the carb cleaner through that idle circuit. Okay, so that's a little trick you can use. So make sure all of that's clear. You know, there's no crust or anything left in the carburetor, or as best you can. Sometimes it's not possible to get it whistle clean, but make sure all of your orifices and everything are clear and are not plugged up, especially your jets, your two jets, the idle jet and the main jet. Time for reassembly. So I'm going to start with the emulsion tube, and I have a 50 pack of those O-rings. If you buy the carb kit will probably come with new O-rings for the emulsion tube, and you will be able to use those. But I have this 50 pack of O-rings that I bought, I think probably on eBay or something like that. So that's what I use. I will put the carburetor kit part numbers in the description below, and the different carburetors that this applies for. I'm going to put the O-rings on just like that. So now your emulsion tube is ready to go, and you can stick that back down into your carb like that. You can push down with a punch or a this carb tool or whatever you have. Push that down. Actually, it's going to get pushed down anyway when you screw in the main jet, the bowl nut. It's going to come down, and the lip here on the top is going to make contact with that bottom O-ring. It's going to make a seal. That's how it's supposed to work. Let's see. Why don't we put in the idle restrictor screw? If you so desire, you can put the black plastic cap back on. Like that. Now I guess it's time to go ahead and put the float and needle back on. So you're going to want to take your float and slip the clip goes on the needle just like that. It kind of clips on. I never took this one off. And you want to hook it on just like that. And the Tecumseh manual says, so this is the intake side of the carburetor. It's got the choke on it. And basically I did that backwards. The manual says that this clip, the pointy end of it, so the sharp end right there, you want to face that towards the intake side. I did some reading, and it looks like if you don't, for whatever reason, it could bind and the float could get stuck somehow. Not exactly sure. It doesn't look like that's possible to happen, but apparently that's why they recommend, or that's the way that you need to install it. So that pointy end right there, you see the little point is pointing towards the intake side. And you want to put your pin back in like that. And then you have it. And so this float should be sitting about level. This one's not bad. It will probably work, but yeah, this one should work. It's more or less level, but if it was sitting something like that, it would not work. Basically, the float when the float bowl fills up with gas, so the carburetor is actually like this. When the float bowl is empty, the float is down like that, and it opens, the needle is not seated on the seat, and it allows gas to flow by, and it will fill up the carb bowl until the float starts floating up. And when it makes contact, when it pushes that needle up in there, it will make contact with the float seat and shut off the gas. And as the gas is used, it will drop back down, let gas in, so it's going to basically stay right around there. And that's how the carburetor works. So if this float, if the seat or whatever in there is all puffed up and this thing is down here, you may not actually be able to have any movement. It may always shut off the gas or you know, that sort of thing. And you want this to move freely. If it gets stuck, you're going to flood your engine, or if it's always up against the seats, you're never going to get any gas. So that's how this thing works. So just for this video, the sake of this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the seat. So I'm going to actually pull it out and put a new seat in there. So bear with me. Alright, so the way that you do it, or the way that I do it, is I take a wood screw like this, and you see the seat down in there. I basically shove this thing down and screw it in a little bit. Of course, this destroys the float seat, so you cannot reuse it after you do this. So you shove that down in there, and you basically pull, and you get your float seat out like that. And you want to look down in there, make sure there's no crud or anything like that, and we are pretty clean down in there, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. And then you take, I have a partial kit here. Take your new seat like this. This one is grooved on one side. If it's grooved, that groove side goes down. Smooth side goes up. This side is going to be looking at you. So sometimes these things are hard to fit. They're so tiny. So I'm going to take that, get it started like that. And then let's see, I will. Here's a 3/16 inch punch, and you can push it down with that. Okay, got that down in there. I'm going to reinstall the needle and float, just like you saw before. And that's sitting pretty good. I'll show you how to test this. Let's take a look at this gasket. Kind of sticky. It's not too bad, but since I have a new one, why not just use that? Right. Now we put the bowl back on, and you'll notice that there's a semicircle that kind of looks like the float. Just line it up like that, put it on. You know what? I have a new one of these too. Let me scrape this off and put a new. That's pretty hard. So put that on right like that. Slip your new bowl gasket over, or jet gasket. Now that the carburetor is assembled, let me show you how to test its functionality here on the bench. So I explained how the float works earlier, and you can hear it in there, right, going up and down. Basically, so when the carburetor is right side up like this, you should be able to blow air through the fuel inlet because the float is down and not up against the seat. So let's blow. so I can blow through it. This is a clean, short piece of fuel hose that I use for testing like that. When I turn it upside down, the float should be up against the seat. The needle should be closing the seat off, and I should not be able to blow through it. And I cannot. So this carburetor is working correctly, and it is able to be installed on the machine. So that basically completes the rebuild of this Tecumseh Snow King carburetor off of a Snowblower 8 horsepower motor. And yeah, I think that's about it. There's one other thing that I want to show you. Basically, so if you've done all of this and you put it back together and the snowblower is still hunting or surging and not quite running right, a lot of times it will idle okay but not run at high speed without, hunting and surging, the RPM change going up and down sort of thing. What that oftentimes is that these EPA jets, these fixed jets, the ones where you can't adjust the mixture, they will be slightly undersized, and as the snowblower ages, the engine characteristics change slightly, and you no longer have the proper air-fuel mixture. It's running lean. So what you can do, you can take a set of micro drill bits like this, and you can essentially drill out the jet one size at a time. So you find the biggest one that will easily go through the jet, and then you will take the next size larger and drill the jet out. And then you will try it and make sure that fixes the problem or doesn't. You do not want to go up more than one size at a time, because if you do, you're liable to ruin the jet, because if you drill it out too much, it's going to run crappy, and there's no way to make it smaller again. So you want to be very careful. Alright guys, thanks for joining me on this one. If you like these videos and find them useful, be sure to like it, subscribe, comment, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one.